classmates are tutoring each other through difficult parts of their homework, and they're getting shout outs at assembly from each other for those efforts. So this school has a way of fostering this sense that we're stronger together than apart.
I'm Agnes Stowicki, Managing Editor with Our Kids. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading private and independent schools to bring you insights into school programs, culture, traditions, and leadership. This includes insights from parents, alumni, and administration. This is the Our Kids Insider Perspective.
We started looking in grade 2 in search of more challenge for our son. We were at a public school and got a sense that he wasn't being challenged academically. So our key considerations were fairly simple. It was looking for a school with a high caliber of students, a high caliber of teaching, and then also a rigorous curriculum. Of course, those were the rational criteria. I'd be remiss not to mention the irrational considerations like the beautiful campus, the wide array of programs, the facilities, and also just the feel and the community of the school. In the case of UCC, we went to Association Day in the fall to get the vibe on campus. It's a great opportunity to talk to lots of students, faculty, alumni in a casual environment. We learned a lot. And our impression, I think it's true today, is that UCC pretty much is the most selective school in Canada. It attracts lots of applicants supported by substantial financial aid, which makes for an impressive student body and a student body that goes on to do all kinds of amazing things. We also learned that UCC basically has the pick of the crop when it comes to recruiting teachers, again, supported by lots of resources. But last but not least, I would say people were sort of expounding on the virtues of the International Baccalaureate, which was not familiar to us at the time, but we've since learned, it has led to incredible university placement results. So based on all these findings, not to mention the environment we were sold, it was our first choice and pretty much our only choice. And now we're finding ourselves at a stage where we're not looking back and saying, did we make the right decision? But rather, we're saying it's a privilege to have been part of this community. And we're excited to see where it leads to next. We were fortunate in that our son just dove in right from the start at UCC. He seemed in his element. He started making friends. We also heard from teachers that things that we didn't know about our son, talents that he had, social skills that he was developing, opportunities for growth. All of that was pretty refreshing. So I think he was responding to the school in ways that we didn't anticipate. We also noticed that he developed a great sense of pride in UCC. So at family gatherings, he loved telling family members and friends what life was like in his school, their adventures, and what he wanted to do next. So we were pretty impressed. In particular, he loved the Norval Outdoor School, which involved playing games, building survival skills, and socialization skills. This was in the earlier years, especially. And I would say more recently, he just finished organizing and running Canada's largest AI hackathon down at University of Toronto. So over 500 students were participating from around the world, and he ended up having to do a keynote presentation in front of them all. And so that to me was testament that how far he's come and grown and built confidence and able to mingle with a university crowd, even though he's only in grade 11. So I wish I could take credit for it all myself, but I think a lot of it has to do with UCC And so for that, we're all very grateful. The one thing my son truly appreciates, and I think many students at UCC appreciate, is the camaraderie. There's a lot of bonding between the students. The school song that they sing at assembly with their arms around each other's shoulders, swaying side to side, is "You'll Never Walk Alone." And I think it really is true. I remember in his first year in primary school watching them play a soccer game, and then he took a break with one of his teammates, a water break, and they walked over to the fountain with their arms around each other's shoulders like they were best buddies. And that happened completely spontaneously. It was a surprise for me to see. Another example, if I look at middle school, when they were at the Norval Outdoor School, they had arranged for the kids to bike, I think it was 12 kilometers as a group, just as in a rural area, to the local airport. And they boarded a small plane with a pilot, and they took off from the runway and flew into the sky together. And they sort of co-piloted the plane as a class with their teacher in attendance. And then I think they had to land the plane too. They came back beaming at their accomplishment, like what they had accomplished together. And we hardly even knew it was happening. So we were just amazed. In the upper school, I think the focus starts to gravitate more towards university preparation. And once again, that bonding is apparent. The older boys are mentoring the younger boys. So, for example, the grade 11s are getting tips from the grade 12s. And the classmates are tutoring each other through difficult parts of their homework, and they're getting shout outs at assembly from each other for those efforts. So this school has a way of fostering this sense that we're stronger together than apart. And in the 8 years at the school, we've never had a single experience of bullying, which I find gratifying. But apart from that, it's this sense of camaraderie that has left a lasting impression. And I do think that UCC leans in pretty hard in terms of fostering respect across the community, and the school spirit really is the stuff of legend. Selfishly speaking, it's the UCC community that I appreciate the most. The students, the parents, the faculty, the staff, the alumni. It's been around for 200 years. It's still going strong. There's no shortage of interesting people and sources of inspiration. We also have a lot of fun. Just this week, we had a parent social with over 60 parents in attendance. It was a chance to blow off steam, learn from each other, and that's just something you can't take for granted. But in terms of the student experience, I think it's got to be the high standards of the school. So UCC stands for excellence. They stand for merit. They believe in leadership. They're constantly innovating with new teaching methods, facilities, support services, and a lot of talent to make it all happen. So as an example, to raise their game in mathematics, they brought over an IB teacher from Hong Kong. And Hong Kong happens to be the world leading jurisdiction for mathematical instruction. And this is a teacher that has very high IB scores, very, very skilled. So that teacher is incorporating techniques from China, India, England, and unsurprisingly, it's just been incredible to see that happen in our city of Toronto. And then to give an athletics example, to maintain UCC's top 5 position in rowing, they built a world-class boathouse down on Lake Ontario that enables the team to train more extensively in the early morning hours. And even though my son didn't do rowing, I can say it's an impressive operation that they have down there. So this year, another example of innovation, they introduced TED Talks for students. So they're actually filming the students doing presentations with multimedia slides as backup. And those presentations are on YouTube in a limited format to give the kids some experience of what the real world is like with TED Talks. So there's so many examples like this. The drive to innovate really rubs off on the students, and I think in turn inspires them to do their best. So I think it's very respectable, although I'm also secretly a little bit envious myself as well. So there have been a number of surprises at UCC, but if there's one that I completely did not anticipate, it's the caliber of university counseling. So I wasn't thinking about this at all back in grade 3. And I'm convinced that UCC has the best university counseling operation in the country. And the placement results speak for themselves. This year, it must have been a record. I think over 10% of the class had Ivy League or equivalent offers, with additional offers from Cambridge and Oxford on top. I believe there was even a full scholarship from Cambridge, incidentally. And the Canadian offers are similarly robust. Behind the scenes, though, is where the surprise lies. The University Counseling Office is just chock full of talented advisors that are orchestrating this whole feat year in, year out. They're on a first name basis with the admissions directors at top universities in the world. They know the current trends of what those schools are looking for. And at the same time, they're working with your students, your kids who are their students, as well as the teachers and staff to make sure UCC applications shine as brightly as possible. So I would liken them to being skilled matchmakers and ambassadors for the school. I did not know about this depth and sophistication of the operation until now, and it's been one of the very pleasant surprises over the years. I must confess, I don't know all the values for UCC, but I can speak to a few of them from my own experience. The first is striving for excellence. So UCC embraces high standards and does not shy away from challenges. And I think in an era when so many school systems are plagued with grade inflation and other types of issues, I think it's great the UCC is continuing to cultivate a meritocracy. They work with international bodies, universities, thought leaders, and bring all their findings back on campus to continue evolving. Another key value is inclusion, which is known as pluralism at UCC, and the school puts what I would characterize as tremendous effort into making students feel welcome and valued at school, whether it's clubs, sports teams, or just the array of support services. This is an institution that wants everyone to feel valued through the highs and the lows. And I think they largely succeed on that. A few more I'd throw out. One is service. So the school takes volunteering and community involvement very seriously. We've actually had school leaders reach out proactively to suggest opportunities off campus for our son. And I think those experiences the students then bring back and talk about at assembly on campus, and it becomes one of the key values of the school. And last but not least is leadership. The school believes that knowledge without leadership is not really that useful. They want to encourage students to learn to lead, to take risks, to get out of their comfort zone. And that perhaps is even the most exciting value of them all. The best part of UCC in some ways is that there is no typical family. It's a mosaic of families from completely different backgrounds. You'll find kids of police officers, business leaders, educators, hockey players, artists, all studying side by side. Families come from local areas around the school. They come from across the Greater Toronto area, and they come from around the world in the boarding houses. And all I can say is that this is a singular community of amazing people, and that you probably never will meet again in the same environment. We've built friendships and supports across the spectrum of UCC families. we carpool, we text, we socialize, we volunteer, we attend parent conferences, we show up for sports practices and concerts, we go on grad trips in grade 12. UCC is a tremendous journey for families as well as students. And I think UCC knows that student outcomes improve when families are engaged. So they encourage the families to lean into the school and the experience. With only a year left before graduation, I am going to miss the community tremendously. However, the silver lining is that the experience doesn't end after graduation. You can always return for Association Day, the Founders Dinner, reunions, and more. It's a community where families really belong for life, and I think that's it's amazing. So my son has developed an interest in mathematics at UCC, and one area that he's really proud of was the opportunity to participate in the Harvard MIT math competition down in Boston. And so this is an invitation only competition. Schools from around the world are competing. It's extremely difficult. UCC assembled a team of grade 12 and grade 11 students, and they went down and for a day and a half tackled rounds of some of the world's most challenging mathematical problems. And it was an incredible experience. They were supported by one of their teachers. One of the parents traveled with them. And it was sort of like the crowning achievement of his mathematical career, so to speak, at UCC. And I thought it was pretty impressive that UCC was able to open doors like that. I think it was the only school, one of the only schools from Canada participating. And of course, it's on campus at Harvard and MIT. So they got to tour the campuses and get some exposure, hear some presentations from the professors at those schools about the latest frontiers in mathematics. So he was proud. We were proud. It was a great experience, and we're appreciative that UCC made that happen. It has to be said that UCC has outstanding teaching. The school's very fortunate in their ability to attract and retain teaching talent, and the teachers come from a wide variety of backgrounds and bring different strengths and styles to the classroom. And I think that's made a big impression on my son. I remember one example in grade 9 when he had to write a 1,000 word essay for his history class on the significance of the War Measures Act. And this was during the pandemic when our government had invoked the Emergencies Act. So it was directly relevant to what was happening at the time. And that assignment took him outside of his comfort zone. He had to go down to the Toronto Reference Library to conduct primary research on historical texts. He had to learn how to formulate a point of view on a complex issue, and then how to structure his written work for a longer sort of expository type essay. So he was frustrated at the time, but then he looks back on it fondly as a formative learning experience, and he's used those skills many times on even more substantial projects later on in the IB. So I think this example really brings out the best of UCC's layered teaching experience. As parents, you often don't know what's going on inside the classroom, but by grade 11, these kids are doing university level work, and I would say it's more advanced than what I was doing in university 30 years ago. I mean, we're talking about thermodynamics, linear algebra, comparative literary analysis, poetry analysis at a pretty high level, and the list goes on and on. The teachers also lean in to the students as on a human level at UCC, and they have office hours, extra help sessions, YouTube tutorials. They're coaching sports teams, leading orchestras, theatrical productions, and in addition, the curriculum nights and parent-teacher conferences are really helpful for the parents to get involved in the learning process. I also want to add that it's not easy raising kids in the world today. There are academic challenges, social media issues, concerning developments in the world. And I've found that UCC actually has more expertise on a lot of these topical issues than we do as first-time parents. And they're living it year in, year out. So the good news is that the administration is just a phone call away. They're great at listening, and I found them to be great at providing advice that's on point for the situation that you're facing. So, UCC is a key ally for parents. They know how to get you out of a tight situation, and they're there to make your kids succeed. They believe in kids, and they take that task very seriously. When I look back to what we were searching for when we were looking at schools, it was great students, great teaching, and great university outcomes, university placement outcomes. And after 8 years at UCC, I can confidently say that those are three reasons for recommending this school today to other families. UCC is uniquely positioned with, I would say, the values, the resources, the capabilities, and the ambition to deliver in these key areas. They admit what can only be described as a stellar cohort of students year after year. And the teachers are pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible when we first arrived. The school has design labs, they're teaching design thinking, they're teaching new areas that didn't exist years ago. And then I think the placement results are the proof in the pudding. They show that the school is recognized by leading programs and institutions around the world for what they're offering. And that is very reassuring to both the current and the prospective parents, I would think. I don't think there is any school in Canada that can match UCC's capabilities, although I do sometimes wish there were more schools like UCC. When you layer in, on top of everything I've talked about, the community, the campus, the programs, and the facilities, it's truly an unparalleled combination. It's a big decision applying to private school, as we all know. So I encourage everyone to take your time, dig a little deeper, and make an informed decision. Um, the schools have their own events like open houses, and I think it's important to attend those, but they shouldn't be the be all and the end all. Sometimes first impressions can lead you astray. I've had people tell me that they went on campus and saw, a fancy car and felt intimidated, and they were wondering whether they should still apply. That's not something that will matter to your child at all. That's just a parent perspective. And then similarly, they might have heard a school presentation that didn't cover what they expected, and so they're questioning the school. But once again, your child's not going to be listening to admissions presentations when they're at school, so they don't care about issues like that. So you really need to peel back the layers of the onion and seek out multiple perspectives. Talk to students and parents and teachers at various stages of the school's journey, whether it's high school, middle school, primary school, and even try seeking out some alumni too to get their perspectives about what's important to you. Don't be shy, because it's your own future that you're talking about. And in addition, I'd say look at the data that's out there on admission selectivity, university placement, and anything else that's important to you. If a school is admitting most or all of the applicants that apply, then I think that's a red flag, at least for me. And similarly, if the students are not getting great university outcomes or what they expected, then that's also a concern. So take your time and try to be as thorough as possible. At the end of the day, you also have to follow your heart.
For more information about this school, you can visit their profile at ourkids.net.